Tonight, hail the size of tennis balls and a white Christmas for parts of the state as Sydney cleans up from last night's wild weather. Warnings there could be more ahead. Christmas Day celebrated with loved ones, opening presents and the perfect meal to match. Midnight Mass, pews packed to the very end as worshippers celebrate the Holy Day. Fresh support for Usman Khawaja, Captain Pat Cummins backing his human rights protest on the eve of the Boxing Day test. King Charles delivers his first Christmas message from Buckingham Palace. And movie buffs rejoice, the film's hitting cinemas tomorrow, one made right here in Sydney.
This is 7 News with Paul Kadak.
Good evening and Merry Christmas from all of us at 7 News. And it's been a Christmas to remember for residents in the state's central west, hit with hail the size of tennis balls, blanketing streets like snow. In Sydney, many spent the day cleaning up after last night's wild storm, and there were delays at the airport with dozens of flights cancelled.
A winter wonderland in the middle of summer.
Far out.
West of Sydney in Grenfell, Mother Nature delivered a white Christmas.
Holy
A rare dusting no one saw coming. Under grey clouds, giant hailstones fell from the sky late this afternoon, and the sight was truly spectacular.
It was like snow.
Ice everywhere. This wild weather unsurprising after yesterday's fast and freakish downpour. Flash flooding on full display. And it was a rain bomb that kept giving.
Oh my God.
From suburb to suburb, Sydney became soaked.
Can I help?
Yeah. The city's east, ground zero.
Oh, look at the shop fronts. That's from us driving too.
In Botany.
You okay? You can't get out.
Drivers bore the brunt of a dangerous deluge. Car after car submerged, homes also inundated.
But I know what to do.
Yes, only one drain and it can cope when it floods.
Nearby in Rosebery, similar scenes, people's possessions tossed around like toys.
As you can see, it went to about this level on the fence.
A sorry sight today on Harcourt Parade. Andrew Mullins left without a ride to his Christmas Day lunch.
Uber for Christmas?
Uber for Chrissy, maybe a Diddy. So we'll see what's cheaper.
Not even Bondi was spared. On social media, tourists renamed the beach Bondi Falls. Inside apartment buildings, water features of a different kind. Drains in Double Bay didn't stand a chance.
Stormwater drains not coping.
And the impact wasn't pretty, an inland sea surrounding a restaurant. A night SES crews won't forget. Answering more than 400 calls for emergency assistance statewide, majority of them came from residents in Sydney.
There were 312 calls for assistance just in the Sydney metropolitan region.
91 millimetres of rain hammered Sydney Airport, making it the wettest December day in 53 years. 20 flights had to be delayed or diverted, leaving travellers stuck and stressed.
The vast majority of that rain fell within about a 2-hour period.
In most suburbs across Sydney, the water came and went within a matter of hours, but here in Botany, transport crews were kept busy through the night and Christmas Day to reopen roads.
We've had COVID, we've had flooding.
What else?
Yeah, what else? Bring it on.
Annie Puller, 7 News.
Well, tonight the presents have been unwrapped and bellies are full from the festive feast as Sydney unwinds from celebrating Christmas Day. Many spent it at home with family, others at the beach or giving to those in need.
While the kids were asleep, Mum, Dad and Santa toiled away. By Christmas morning, no more room under the tree and sleepy eyes grew wide. But for some footprints, it was almost as if the big merry man was never there. So began the race for the stocking, on for young and old.
Oh my goodness me.
Wrapping paper dispatched. With some helping teeth. Time to unload and show off the haul.
Can you lift them up and show Dad?
A Santa slam dunk and a bang of the drum. The home kitchen popular this year. Someone's got to do the Christmas dishes.
Don't break it.
At Coogee Beach, the tree marks the spot, the Christmas beach tradition also prevailing at Bondi, along with the sun and tourists a long way from the cold, white North Pole.
We're here for a good time if it rains or not.
Nice holiday for Christmas, sunshine.
Leaving the hot, cold weather in London.
It's our first sunny Christmas.
Santa not forgetting those with no choice of where to spend the day.
Merry Christmas!
At Randwick and Westmead Children's Hospitals, he brought the cheer and much, much more.
Who likes presents?
Dragging a heavy load, not forgetting a single child.
Have a nice Christmas. All the very best to you.
The very best to you.
Thank you very much.
At Wesley Mission, it was all about the music. And then the attention turned to food. Here at Wayside Chapel, there's no shortage of that. 135 volunteers are serving up 20 hams, 80 kilos of prawns and 800 puddings in a lunch for 1,000.
Plenty of food, plenty of love, plenty of dancing, and it all makes it worthwhile when you see those smiles on people's faces who otherwise probably wouldn't have anyone to celebrate this day with.
Thanks to Wayside Chapel, everything's just, I'm living a life. I mean, like it's so good.
Hughes Street, King's Cross, chock-a-block, every man and his dog. A place where tradition and family is everything.
I come here every year.
Yeah.
I've been coming here to the Wayside on and off for the last 33 years.
It brings out the loneliness that people think.
The food, your friends.
With a cameo from a former Prime Minister.
The Wayside Chapel embodies what Christmas and, frankly, Christianity should be all about.
To the current PM in a similar setting.
It's uplifting. It's a great privilege to be here.
Anthony Albanese, accompanied by Premier Chris Minns, feeding some hungry mouths at Bill Crew's Exodus Foundation.
More than 4,000 people will be fed here. Toys for the kids. It's just a wonderful, joyous time.
Now, time for a nap before a bit of Christmas pud. Tom Saker, 7 News.
From St Mary's in the city to St Patrick's in Parramatta, thousands started Christmas Day with church services across our city. The faithful celebrating the story of Jesus' birth while also reflecting on the current conflict in the Holy Lands.
United in full voice, lining pews at St Mary's Cathedral in the city, the Catholic community congregating together.
There is, as our gospel relates, a light to shine in the darkness, a grace and truth to fill our aching hearts.
To celebrate the birth of Christ with a message from Reverend Anthony Fisher to spread hope and harmony.
In the end, we know Jesus will indeed bring an end to all conflict and establish eternal peace.
Conflict marking the trials and tribulations of the year that's been, rising costs causing hardship.
In a world of tears and trouble, Christmas reminds us that we're not alone.
From St Andrews, a reminder to reconnect.
Because of Jesus, we know God loves the least, the helpless, and the hopeless most.
Echoed at a Palestinian mass in Doonside.
Responsible to be compassionate and merciful with our people and give them the help that they need.
An upbeat thanks to God at Hillsong.
Peace on earth and mercy mild.
And a chance to give back.
We wanted to bless some kids this morning.
Midnight Mass marking the start of Christmas as worshippers populated St Patrick's Cathedral in Parramatta.
Wishing you all a very blessed Christmas. May it be a time of renewing, deepening, if necessary, even healing.
Hundreds of thousands are expected to attend services across Sydney today, many spending the lead up to Christmas at church too. Now more than ever, relying on religion and faith to navigate difficult times.
It gives the motivation and the courage and all of it. So that's that. In that sense, I feel it's really important.
The greatest holiday for me as a Christian, for me it means a lot.
Angelique Opie, 7 News.
A 79-year-old man has been killed after he was struck by a car in Sydney's west. Paramedics treating the man at the scene on Adenza Road, Bonnyrigg, but sadly he could not be saved. The driver of the van was taken for mandatory testing. He and his passenger were uninjured. The coroner will investigate. There have been a number of drowning tragedies across the state this Christmas. A surfer died at Umina Beach on the Central Coast today. Meanwhile, the search has been called off for a swimmer who was seen struggling in a rip at Lennox Head yesterday afternoon. Surf lifesavers, marine rescue crews and the rescue helicopter scoured the town's main beach overnight and this morning, but a body has not been found.
We just heard on the beach that there was 3 swimmers went out and one got into trouble and didn't get back in.
Authorities are reminding beachgoers to swim between the flags this summer. Australian captain Pat Cummins is rallying behind Usman Khawaja as the opener faces a new protest storm. Cricket's governing body coming down hard on Khawaja on the eve of the Boxing Day test.
Christmas morning spent in the nets, the Aussies enjoying some family time, but captain Pat Cummins was clean bowled by Santa.
I got 0 presents.
Instead, a peace offering from Pakistan before tomorrow's Boxing Day test.
Really kind and thoughtful of their group to think of us. We spend a lot of the year away with our families going to training, so it's great that we can bring them to work and all the kids can kind of see what the dads do.
Usman Khawaja continues to make headlines after the ICC denied him the right to wear the logo of a black dove on his shoes and bat, a symbol of peace for the people of Gaza.
We really support Uzi. I think he's standing up for what he believes and I think he's doing it really respectfully, and I don't think that's very offensive, and I'd say the same about the doves.
Khawaja was banned from wearing the slogan "All lives are equal" in Perth too.
I don't know the ins and outs of the application or anything, but yeah, I think it's pretty vanilla, a dove. Yeah.
Despite the rain today, 70,000 people are expected to pack into the G tomorrow, making it the biggest Boxing Day crowd between Australia and Pakistan. Groundsmen working hard today to protect the pitch from a summer soaking. Kate Massey, 7 News.
Yacht owner Grant Warrington took line honours in the 2003 Sydney Hobart with Wild Thing, and 20 years later he's back to do it again. His new and improved boat, Wild Thing 100, making it to Sydney Harbour just in time for the great race.
Slipping into Sydney, this is one way to make a grand entrance. Super Maxi Wild Thing sailing all the way from Queensland in just 48 hours. Arriving at the start line in time for tomorrow's Boxing Day blockbuster. This 100-foot yacht has been a work in progress.
So as you can see from this week, we've had a lot of painting going on.
Reconstructed in a race shed on the Gold Coast.
Cut the whole thing in half with a saw and added these 2 sections.
For the boat's owner, Grant Warrington, the transformation has been a labour of love.
This is the new section, this 4-metre section through here, 2 metres here, 2 metres here.
I sailed on the boat 2 years ago with him after he bought it, and the boat was 80 feet long. Now it's 100 feet long. And to do that, he put a 12-foot piece in the bow and an 8-foot piece on the back.
With one of her major rivals, Wild Oats, out of the race, Wild Thing is expected to be a headline act. And on board, crews have been working down to the wire.
No one really knows what's going to happen, and there's a lot of work to be done, work in progress on the yacht when we're racing.
Self-proclaimed battlers going up against billionaires.
A lot of tools and a lot of work being done to keep things bolted together, so there's a never-ending job list.
But navigator Carl Crawford has no doubt this beauty will deliver.
It's 100 feet, you're all on the same level. We'll be fine, we'll be in good shape.
Annie Puller, 7 News.
Australian music legend John Farnham has celebrated Christmas with his family in the first sighting of the singer since his cancer diagnosis in 2022. Whispering Jack was pictured at the head of the table 4 months after declaring he is cancer-free. Pope Francis has delivered a plea for peace in his Christmas Eve Mass, saying, "Our hearts are with Bethlehem." The birthplace of Jesus in the occupied West Bank has cancelled Christmas celebrations in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza.
Traditionally, midnight mass at St Peter's Basilica has crept earlier to reflect the stamina of Pope Francis. Draped in white robes, the pontiff presiding over a solemn Christmas Eve service, reminding the faithful of the importance of peace.
Sentimento.
Tonight, our hearts are in Bethlehem, where the Prince of Peace is once more rejected by the futile logic of war. Bethlehem, the biblical birthplace of Jesus, should be bustling with people, light and song. Instead, the nativity scene reflects the war raging in Gaza. Christmas celebrations have been cancelled in solidarity. Bethlehem is in the West Bank. Its people are Palestinians.
Unfortunately, this year we're receiving Christmas without tourists.
Hotel's completely empty. We have no guests, no one, even plus we have bookings for 2024 are all cancelled.
An art installation shows a figure of baby Jesus in an incubator.
When Jesus was born tonight, was born dead because the bombing still falling for about 80 days on the people of Gaza.
At least 70 people have been killed after a missile struck a refugee camp in central Gaza. My daughter's sons, my daughter and her husband, all of them were killed. The Israeli military says it's reviewing the incident as it releases video said to show the Hamas underground tunnel network. 15 IDF soldiers were killed over the weekend.
And I feel powerless because my country is helping to fund the genocide of an innocent people.
Now turning to the power of prayer. In the United States, Jacqueline Robson, 7 News.
King Charles has called for care, compassion and service as he delivered his annual Christmas message, his second as monarch. Charles also focusing on the shared ideals of the world's faiths after a year of escalating religious tensions.
The King's first Christmas broadcast from Buckingham Palace. His Majesty delivering his message with a view to the Queen Victoria Memorial.
For some, faith will be uppermost in their hearts. For others, it will be the joy of fellowship and the giving of presents. It is also a time when we remember those who are no longer with us.
His late mother would often be accompanied by carefully arranged family photos, Charles choosing video to depict the work of the small group of royals still carrying out official duties, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, Princess Anne, and featuring heavily the Waleses.
Throughout the year, my family have witnessed how people of all ages are making a difference to their communities. This is all the more important at a time of real hardship for many when we need to build on existing ways to support others less fortunate than ourselves.
Highlighting the hundreds of volunteers and community leaders who were invited to Their Majesty's May coronation.
Their presence meant so much to us both and emphasised the meaning of coronation itself. Above all, a call to all of us to serve one another.
There is a call to arms on the environment too.
To care for this creation is a responsibility owned by people of all faiths and of none.
The King overwhelmingly focusing on the religious-based message Christmas offers, but highlighting the common ideals between Christians, Jews and Muslims, the Abrahamic faiths, at a time of conflict.
They remind us to imagine ourselves in the shoes of our neighbours and to seek their good as we would our own. I wish you a Christmas of peace on earth and goodwill to all, today and always.
In London, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
Australia's servicemen and women send messages back home. Coming up, they're deployed across the globe and have family front of mind. Also, protesters wrestled off the stage, carols by candlelight disrupted. Packages of cocaine washing up on our state's beaches, the police investigation. Later, Sydney on the big screen, homegrown films in cinemas this Boxing Day. And a very special royal holiday concert with a message from the Princess of Wales. Packages believed to have cocaine inside are washing up on New South Wales beaches, prompting a warning from police. 7 of them have been found so far, the first at Magenta on the Central Coast on Friday, with similar packages washing up at Manly, Avoca and Blacksmith beaches. The packages recovered have significant barnacle growth covering the plastic. Anyone who finds one is urged to call 000. The connection to organised crime is under investigation. A driver has been charged with dangerous and negligent driving after a crash that killed his 24-year-old passenger. Emergency services were called to Wentworth Avenue in Pagewood 2 weeks ago after a sedan and SUV collided. The passenger died at the scene while both drivers were seriously injured. The 31-year-old has since had his licence suspended and will face court in February. Children have been caught up in a shock pro-Palestine demonstration during one of Australia's biggest carols by candlelight events. Protesters evading security to storm the stage, catching the hosts and producers off guard.
Chaos just 8 minutes into carols by candlelight, as 2 pro-Palestinian protesters stormed the Sydney Myer Music Bowl stage, one snatching a microphone from the hosts. The protesters were met with boos from the crowd as the event was put on pause.
Well, hang on 1 second.
Children performing on stage were escorted away for safety.
Everyone's allowed to have they're allowed to have their moment, they're allowed to have their time in the sun, but we did have kids here, so we want to make sure those kids are safe. They're going to come back out in a second.
An anonymous representative of the pro-Palestinian group has told 7 News they wanted to disrupt the comfort of attending a carols by candlelight event, adding the war in Gaza doesn't stop for Christmas, but their actions have been condemned.
This is the refrain that we hear from this side. When they came to Caulfield and started riots a few weeks ago, this was the same thing they said. We didn't mean it, but this is more important. I think what we see is that for these people, the only thing that matters is their cause.
Viewers have also lashed out at the protesters online, calling the stunt a disgrace and inappropriate at an event full of children.
Parents shouldn't have to explain what happens on stage. The only things parents should be explaining to their children today is how wonderful Christmas is, how lovely it will be to spend time with their families.
A 21-year-old woman was arrested at the scene and fined for possessing a weapon. The other protester was asked to move on. Bethan Yeoman, 7 News.
The demise of the chequebook is looming as mobile wallet usage surges. Banking experts predict all cheques will be gone within a decade, and cash is likely to follow close behind.
The days of cashing a cheque are officially numbered, the first of a long line of traditions on the chopping block.
Within 5 years, Australians will not be transacting in cash. We won't have passports, we won't have driver's licences, we won't have a Medicare card, or when we're flying on an aircraft, all of us won't have a boarding pass.
Macquarie Bank has told customers it's scrapping cheques from November 2024. New chequebooks won't be available at Bank West from March. Commonwealth Bank and NAB are both spruiking alternatives to ease the transition. The entire system will be phased out by 2030.
I think it's going to force a lot of people who aren't that tech savvy into the digital world, and they're going to pay the price for it. Retirees are the prime target of scammers.
I think some people still need them. I know my mum still uses hers.
We're really not being inclusive of that group of people, and I think I'm concerned about that.
But they're not used to the new ways yet.
The banks say cheques account for 0.2% of payments, but digital transactions are soaring. More than 15 million cards were registered to mobile wallets last year, up from 2 million in 2018.
Most of the cheque usage today is not retail sales. It's payment of bills and donations and very large purchases.
Today we are all now consumers. We want instant, ongoing gratification. We want it, and we want it now.
Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
Princess Kate has hosted a very special Christmas carol service at Westminster Abbey. The annual concert, filmed earlier this month, has now been broadcast, featuring a special message from the royal and a reading from her husband, Prince William.
Time came for her to deliver her child, and she gave birth to her firstborn son. and wrapped him in bands of cloth and laid him in a manger.
And I wish you all a very Merry Christmas.
The concert featured a performance from US singer Adam Lambert and a reading from actor Jim Broadbent. With just hours to go until the Boxing Day sales, experts have a last-minute warning. Next, the payment method that could cost you more in the long run. Also, police barricade doors and hurl tear gas at protesters. A wake-up call for first-time parents. That's next. And in sport, a final Boxing Day test for Sydney's David Warner fast approaching. Australia's serving men and women spending Christmas away from their families have sent messages to lift the spirits of loved ones back home. Many defence personnel have taken up new positions in the Middle East this year due to the conflict in Gaza.
Flight Lieutenant Matthew Bogrowski is spending Christmas at a secret location in the Middle East.
With my personal experience, it's been quite challenging, however quite rewarding in the area. And doing the work that I do.
He's part of a group of Australian troops sent to monitor the conflict in Israel, ready to evacuate thousands of Aussies in the region if the war escalates.
I am definitely proud to be wearing this uniform overseas.
He wanted to send this message to family and friends back home.
All their mail and little Christmas gifts that they've sent, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
More than 1,000 Australian Defence Force personnel are currently deployed overseas, missing the holidays with loved ones.
I'm currently deployed to the Sinai, Egypt. I'd like to wish a very special Merry Christmas to my friends and family back home.
I love you, I miss you, and I'll see you very soon.
Currently deployed to southern Lebanon. I wish you a very Merry Christmas.
To my friends, family, and my son Archer and my daughter Shaylin. Merry Christmas.
Hopefully you'll get a big surprise when I get back next year. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Many have spent the year in Europe training new recruits into the Ukrainian armed forces in what's becoming a protracted conflict.
Merry Christmas, family. Enjoy the beach and I'll enjoy the snow.
Hope you guys have a great Christmas. Dad loves you and I'll see you soon.
The Defence Force has also been helping our Pacific neighbours. On the Solomon Islands, their Christmas spirit is unwavered.
I just want to wish my family and friends back home in Brisbane a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I love you all. Just hoping to wish my lovely partner a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, as well as all my family and friends.
Wishing family and friends a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Have a beer on me.
It's not just soldiers. Contractors are also stationed abroad, looking after troops in camps.
Hey, it's Dr. Pete here, the Army doctor over in the Middle East region. Just wishing you all a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, I love you, and I'll see you soon.
2023 has been a huge year of enormous achievement, and everyone in the Defence family can feel intensely proud.
Defence operations are expected to ramp up in the coming years as Australia acquires nuclear-powered submarines and conflict moves closer to home. But for now, from the Defence family to yours.
Merry Christmas!
Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
The disappeared Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 could be found in a matter of days, according to experts. The flight left Kuala Lumpur almost 10 years ago, and now a new search area has been identified. It's thousands of kilometres west of Perth, between the two regions previously pinpointed. The push to restart the investigation is based on the theory the plane was purposely hijacked and downed in the deep ocean. Thousands of protesters in Serbia have tried to break into the capital's town hall, claiming the recent election was unfair. The opposition is demanding a recount as domestic and international bodies say there was media bias and vote buying. The president has dismissed the allegations as rubbish and lies. Riot police fired tear gas at demonstrators in Belgrade, barricading the doors, with more than 35 people arrested. Nearly $1 billion is expected to be spent across the state during the Boxing Day sales, and experts are tonight warning consumers about the risks of relying on schemes like Afterpay. They say it could end up costing you more in the long run. To some, buying now and paying later might seem like the solution to get through the festive season.
I think if you have a lot of self-control, great. I don't, so I've gotten rid of it.
I think people sort of spend too much what they don't have, and then,
not able to pay it off.
The schemes allow customers to pay off their shopping over 8 weeks, but experts warn they can be a trap.
The reality for many families is that they will find themselves in circumstances where they don't have the means to make the payments when they fall due.
He says that can lead to late fees piling up, and you could end up paying much more than the original price.
People might have purchased a $40 t-shirt, 4 repayments of $10, they miss one repayment, that costs them a $10 or a $15 fine.
In a statement, Afterpay told 7 News its current model exposes customers to the lowest possible risk, banning them from using the service if they miss a repayment, also capping late fees. But consumer advocacy group Choice has tips for those who do sign up. Never use your credit card, set up with debit instead. Create payment reminders. Also set a spending limit and stick to it. Charities like Vinnie's offering assistance if you do find yourself in financial strife after signing up.
If you do need some advice or some support in how to pay for things, or if you need some help with paying of bills, we're there to help.
But she's urging people already struggling with cost of living increases not to sign up in the first place. For first-time parents, the first few weeks with a newborn can feel like a whirlwind. There's so much to learn. Experts say simple techniques like the best way to hold your baby can be overlooked. Now there's new help getting the small things right, which can make a big difference.
When Emily Walker arrived home from hospital with little Ezra, just knowing how to correctly hold him felt overwhelming.
There was definitely an information overload leading up to the birth and then coming home from hospital as well.
Dr. Helen Beaton from Notre Dame University says more easily accessible education is needed for parents. A new study reveals that using the correct handling techniques can help reduce the risk of misshapen heads and developmental delays. Small steps can make a big difference, like turning a baby onto its side before picking it up and setting it down.
Turning is really important to help you develop your movement against gravity, and that's what you need to do in the first 3 months of life.
Experts say giving kids plenty of time on their tummy while awake will also help increase their strength and motor skills. But it's crucial they are always supervised.
Very, very important to follow the SIDS guidelines, and when you put your baby down to sleep, you lower them down via their side and put them on their back to sleep.
The results also show that children who start ahead tend to stay ahead, with early attainment of motor skills having a positive impact on social development and academic performance later in life.
I think he actually prefers to be picked up in those ways as well. It seems easier for him, and he gets to explore the world a little bit more too.
The next step is to roll out detailed video guides for parents, giving babies like Ezra the head start they need. Nick Overall, 7 News.
Santa may have brought you a new drone, but it could get you in legal trouble. Next in 7 News, the rules you need to know before liftoff. Also, the beer that's taken out top spot, the Aussie Thirst Quencher, deemed this year's favourite. The $90 million Oz Lotto jackpot, your odds of taking out the Division 1 prize. Plus, meet the dynamic duo taking to the seas in the Sydney Hobart in the second smallest yacht in the fleet. It's fair to say drones have really taken off. Almost 2 million Australians now fly them for fun. And that number will have grown today with them being on a few Christmas wish lists. But authorities are warning, learn the rules before taking to the skies, as breaking them could land you in hot water, even jail.
They may take pretty pictures, but never let looks deceive.
No!
And if you do find a present that can fly under the tree this year,
it's really important that people intending to buy a drone to fly for fun understand there are safety risks.
People urged to brush up on their knowledge before takeoff.
Obviously, people are curious about how, when and where they can fly their drones.
So what does it mean to be a responsible flyer? Well, when your drone is up in the air, you can never let it fly over anyone. This includes places like festivals, sporting events, populated beaches, busy roads and pedestrians on footpaths. And when there are people around, your drone has to be at least 30 metres away from them.
While it can be tempting to want to do whatever it takes to try and get the perfect shot,
You can't fly this higher than 120 metres, which is about the length of a football field. Breaking the rules can get you in a lot of trouble. You could face operating restrictions or a fine. And if your drone becomes a hazard to other aircraft, you could be sent to jail for up to 2 years. Amy Clemens, 7 News.
Australia's favourite beers have been revealed. Great Northern Super Crisp Lager has again topped the list of best-selling beers by volume. Another Queensland favourite, 4X Gold, was second on the list, while Victorian brew Carlton Dry came in at number 3. Now, if Santa didn't deliver what you wanted today, then the Boxing Day Oz Lotto draw might. The $90 million jackpot will be the second largest prize in the game's 30-year history. It's the final Oz Lotto draw for 2023, with 1 in 3 Australians expected to enter. If you're feeling lucky, the chances of winning the top prize are 1 in 62 million. Well, it's the best time of year for movie fans, with some of the biggest blockbuster films released on Boxing Day. And tomorrow, Sydney will play a starring role as the backdrop for a number of smash hits. Don't miss that story soon on 7 News. But sport is next, including the final practice session before our cricketers face the Boxing Day test, and it could be a wet one. 2 pensioners taking on the Blue Water Classic. And why an Australian NFL star was secretly invited to the White House by President Joe Biden.
As the day breaks,
the news breaks on Sunrise.
The unfolding fire emergency. Breaking news, the Middle East is at flashpoint.
Start with what's unfolding.
The winds have picked up massively.
Start with the team Australia trusts.
One of the biggest issues that's facing the country at the moment.
Start with Sunrise.
Sport now. Australia will take an unchanged lineup into tomorrow's Boxing Day test against Pakistan. 70,000 fans are expected for day 1 at the MCG, but they'll need to pack their umbrellas.
An indoor session, a different look for Boxing Day, and our first look into the future of Australian cricket. Pat Cummins wasting no time teaching his son the ropes. The skipper not worried about the wet weather ahead of tomorrow's second test.
Test matches here seem to move a little bit quicker than other places in the last few years, so I think there'll be plenty of time to finish the game, and don't think it'll change any.
Families enjoying the morning at the G and with the opposition. No surprises who took the opportunity in the nets. Marnus Labuschagne and Steve Smith utilising their last session.
Their idea of the perfect Christmas, those two.
The captain confirming there'll be no changes to Australia's lineup. Some added incentive for the Aussies tomorrow. David Warner's last Boxing Day test as they look to win the series over Pakistan, who've lost their last 15 test matches in Australia.
It doesn't take much to remind us of how special Test cricket is every time we go out there, even just putting on the baggy green and the whites, it just feels a bit more special.
1 win away from more silverware. Cummins reflecting on his busiest year yet.
It'll be a year that I'll remember as probably the highlight of my cricketing career, and this year's just been another level. Ashes, World Cup and World Test Championships.
Kate Massey, 7 News.
While the attention will be on the 100-foot Super Maxis when they pass through the heads for the Sydney Hobart tomorrow, also in the field are some smaller yachts and crews. A pair of pensioners are aiming to go all the way to the finish line again with true grit and determination.
They're the co-skippers on Currawong, back for another year.
We thought, well, we could give it another shot.
Kathy Beale and Bridget Canham may be racing on the second smallest yacht in the fleet, but these pensioners mean business.
We've learned a lot from last year. I think pacing ourselves actually before the start of the race and going into the race feeling reasonably rested is really important.
Every year, the Sydney Hobart attracts a diverse range of competitors and boats, and these two are testament to that. Sharing one of the oldest partnerships, they're the only two-handed female crew in the Blue Water Classic.
Each one of us needs to be able to do every job there is to do on the boat.
And history shows they'll do it in fine style.
This welcome is just unbelievable.
Arriving at 11:42 p.m. on New Year's Eve, Currawong crossed the finish line last in 2022, but there was still plenty to celebrate at Constitution Dock.
All the
fireworks and New Year's Eve revellers calling out our name and welcoming us into the dock, so it was quite a spectacular finish.
A wild journey, 5 days, 10 hours, 42 minutes and 6 seconds in the making.
We had ducked into Eden for 6 hours to avoid some really nasty weather in Bass Strait.
With some new modifications to their rig, the pair are confident they'll get through any challenge that comes their way.
There's a little unfinished business from last year.
Annie Puller, 7 News.
The only thing Chelsea want for Christmas this year is a Premier League win, and the Blues Horror 2023 hit a new low in an error-riddled display against the Wolves this morning. The 2-1 defeat is Chelsea's 4th in 6 games and the 19th for the year, the highest total in the entire competition.
Chance, goal, Doherty, Wolves Day, and appropriately at this time of year, it was gifted to him.
The Blues are 10th on the table, 14 points outside the top 4. Aussie Jordan Mailata's singing exploits have been a hit in the NFL and United States, but not even he could have predicted this. During the week, the boy from Bankstown was secretly invited to the White House by President Joe Biden himself to surprise his wife Jill with a rendition of White Christmas at the staff Christmas party. Mailata's Philadelphia Eagles play the New York Giants on Christmas Day in the US tomorrow morning, our time. Up next, we'll take a look at the forecast for your Boxing Day. More showers and storms possible tomorrow afternoon, but it looks to be a clear start for the Sydney Hobart yacht race. I'll have the full outlook coming up next. Tonight's 7 News headlines: hailstorms cover streets in ice, delivering a white Christmas in the state's central west. Sydney-siders are still cleaning up from last night's wild weather. And music legend John Farnham pictured for the first time since his 2022 cancer diagnosis, celebrating Christmas with family. For movie buffs, tomorrow is the most anticipated day of the year as summer blockbusters hit the big screen. And one of this year's biggest Boxing Day films was made right here in Sydney.
Boxing Day on the big screen.
My name is Willy Wonka.
This year's biggest summer blockbusters, family favourites and much hyped rom-coms.
Could be kind of fun.
Probably the strongest lineup since the pre-pandemic times.
Filmed in Sydney, Anyone But You was one of the first flicks in the world to reboot production after the writers and actors strikes.
I think we started filming about 8 hours after the strike ended.
If they hadn't...
Would we have been able to release on Boxing Day? I don't think so.
For the action lovers, the long-awaited Aquaman sequel starring Jason Momoa finally hits the silver screen, while families have Wonka, Wish and Migration to choose from.
Families of 3, 4 or 5, you can certainly get some good discounts.
But Boxing Day is just the start of what will be a monster few months here at the movies, with some big-name releases on the way in early 2024.
There's a great comedy from Taika Waititi on New Year's Day called Next Goal Wins.
January dishing up biographical sports dramas Ferrari and Boys in the Boat directed by George Clooney. Also on the way, a new take of a teen classic, Mean Girls.
You like gum?
Sure.
Oh no, I don't have any. I was just...
Local productions The Fall Guys starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, shot on Sydney's Harbour Bridge and in Martin Place, and Mad Max Furiosa featuring Chris Hemsworth are both set for release in May. The only question now, what to watch first? Amber Laidler, 7 News.
To the weather now, and after a humid start, Christmas stayed mostly dry for Sydney, the city reaching a top of 28 degrees around 3:30 this afternoon. That high shared by most suburbs today, from Cronulla to Campbelltown, Parramatta to Penrith, reaching 29 at Bankstown, 26 the top for Terry Hills. A low over the state's southwest has been interacting with a humid mass of air to bring those unsettled conditions, showers and storms to central and eastern parts of New South Wales. Tomorrow, as that system moves towards the the Tasman, it's set to bring more scattered showers and thunderstorms, possibly severe, with warmer than average temperatures for the northern coast, cooler than average inland. Across Australia tomorrow for the capitals, showers and a possible storm for Brisbane and 33, showers easing in Canberra heading for 26, showers increasing for Melbourne with a high of 25, a mostly sunny day in Hobart and 23, a shower or two for Adelaide 22, partly cloudy in Perth and 27 degrees, Darwin chance of a storm and 34. For Sydney tomorrow, after another humid morning, looking again at a shower or two and possible storm in the afternoon, but with much less rain than in the last couple of days. The city heading for a top of 28 degrees. A little warmer in the west, a Boxing Day high of 30 with an afternoon shower or two. Similar story for Wednesday, the chance of a light afternoon shower. Thursday brings the sunshine, 31 degrees for the city, 35 in the west. Then back to a shower or two Friday and Saturday, the chance of a morning shower to end 2023 with a similar day to kick off the new year. And that is 7 News this Christmas Day. We'll have updates for you throughout the evening, and then Sunrise is back from 5:30 tomorrow morning. I'm Paul Kadak. From all of us here at the 7 News team, Merry Christmas and have a good night.
Stream 7 News anytime, live and on demand on 7 Plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.